Hello everyone. Now you saw the title of the video, so you know what question I'm about to ask you. Is Eldlich really as bad as people crack it up to be? Now in front of you is a fairly standard Eldlich list that I've been using. It's got the filth, it's got the floodgates, it's got the Eldlich cards, it's got the protection, the draw power, it's got it all. This is a relatively standard Eldlich list. Doesn't have all the extra deck nonsense because, you know, like the Gustav cannon, because they're all URs, and no, you would use them so rarely that it's not even relevant. Plus, in this version of the deck, you're playing like Rivalry and Goes in Match and whatever, so none of that's really relevant. In the absence of having a third skill drain, in the absence of Imperial Order, in the absence of cards like that, this deck has had to rely more heavily upon other floodgate cards that it can play, such as Goes in Match, Rivalry, Anti-Spell Fragrance, which is on the rise, and cards like this. So it's not necessarily any less toxic than it has been in the past. However, is it really as strong as people crack it up to be? In this video, what I'm going to be showing you is a lot of scenarios where we're taking this deck into ranked, we're not even necessarily getting bad hands, we're getting decent hands, and it's all going to hell anyway. Just the deck is so slow, people have played against it so much that it's like this deck isn't even a threat anymore compared to any relatively competent meta-based strategy. And we're going to be covering that today, because I'm not the biggest fan of Eldlich. This is the first video I've done on them, and I probably won't revisit them unless I have a cool reason to. So let's just take it from the top. Again, if you like what you're seeing and you want to see anything more, typically we sort of visit more rogue-based strategies, some meta-based things as well, and not lots of meta-analysis. If it's your first time on the channel, have a look back, and if you like what you see, subscribe so you can keep on top of everything else that's coming out in the near future and hopefully the distant future. And you can also leave a comment for any sort of recommendations, changes, subscriptions. If you're an Eldlich player, leave down below what you would change, what you do play, what you don't play, why is it an important thing. Don't just throw a card in and just leave it. Like, explain why, explain what you're taking out, why you're, you know what I mean? So that people can actually, you know, learn from the comment. And that's a good thing. We want to create a community of people who are trying to help each other learn and get better. We're not trying to create a community of people who spam floodgates and Eldlich all day, but you know what, there have to be a few bad apples for the rest of them to shine, you know. So yes, we're just going to dive into then the first game. We've actually got 4 games lined up for this because they do ironically tend to go a bit quicker, which is, you know, ironic for Eldlich. But yeah, let's just dive in and we'll see exactly what's going on. Alright, getting into game 1, we're going first. Look at the hand, we've got everything, we just set 4 pass. You're gonna notice whenever you start playing Eldlich that this happens a lot. Our opponent goes for Fossil Dig here, they're gonna pick up Gildosaurus, which is interesting, that's cool. They go for Rite of Aramesir, that's less cool, but whatever. And then they go for Heartless Feather Duster, which is like the least cool thing. So they go for the Feather Duster. You're gonna notice that the more you play this deck, everyone suddenly has Feather Duster, whereas like nobody has it normally, and it's the most frustrating thing. We trigger the Goes in Match just to stop the Griffin Rider from coming out, then we summon out our Golden Lord here to the field, so at least we got 2800 defense on the field. Gone is the back row, dusted away. He's gonna grab the Draco back off of our summon, ironically. He's gonna summon the Gildosaurus. We don't have anything to summon from the graveyard, so we can't take advantage of it. Goes Carbonetton into Salamangreat Almirage. Carbonetton banishes itself from the graveyard to summon Flamevel Guard. Goes into Crystron Hulk. This is a really cool combo, by the way, from our opponent. So I really like what we're seeing here from what they're doing. He goes into the Auroradon. I mean, it was a cool way to get into Auroradon, I'll give him that, you know, it's fairly unique. Tributes to, summons out the O-Lion, goes into Roland, which is interesting again. Roland and O-Lion are both going to activate. O-Lion's going to grab a token here, and Roland, I believe, sends a card from deck to graveyard? Yeah. Oh no, at the end of the turn, send one from deck to graveyard and add one to hand. He's going to go into Cupid Pitch here. Cupid Pitch decreased down to 3. He's going to go into the Borreload Savage Dragon. Savage Dragon will equip on the Auroradon from the graveyard, of course. Malicious summons its, banishes one to summon itself from the deck. Then he goes into actually a level 9. into Infernoble Knight Emperor Charles. This is a really interesting deck from our opponent, honestly. And these are the things you're going to notice. Whenever you're playing the degenerate strategies, you end up being on the other side of the YouTube clip. You know what I mean? Our opponent's going to go into Nemesis Corridor as well. Colossus, this man just has everything. This is pretty nuts. This guy's deck is really cool. I'm a big fan, especially the Charles. Like, what? I've never seen that type of tech before in my life. That's really cool. Bounces the Golden Lore back to hand. He summons Magic Core, of all things, and he just beats our ass. And it's as simple as that. Like, there's no technicality about it. He just summons a bunch of monsters and just kicks us to the curb. Like, what more do you want? Again, if we were on the other side of this replay, that would have been insanely satisfying. So you know what? I'll give him points. That's completely fine. But everyone, when you start playing Eldlich, has Harpy's Feather Duster, has Lightning Storm, has Twin Twisters, Cosmic. They have something to ruin your day that you just never normally see. So there's reason number one as to why the deck's maybe not as good as people crack it out to be. The Lord of Heavenly Prisons, yes, does somewhat take care of that, but you've only got a 33% chance of opening it if you're going first. You know what I mean? 1 in 3 games isn't exactly fantastic odds. So what we're going to do is dive into game number 2. Alright, game number 2, we're going first. Very good hand. We've got the Black Awakening, the Heavenly Prisons, we've got the Golden Lord. You know, we got enough stuff. We didn't really need the Golden Lord in the hand because we can summon one for in deck, but you know what? It is what it is. We got the Judgment, we got Rivalry. So we're going to pass to our opponent here. They're going to open up with Lord of the Heavenly Prisons as well, but they're not playing Eldlich. They're playing Deinomorphia. So they're going to set 5, which I wasn't expecting initially. We draw into his second Lord of Heavenly Prisons, which is not great, I'm not going to lie. Could have used one of them in the last game, but such is life. What are you going to do about it? He's going to flip up his Deinomorphia Domain, which is basically their main fusion card, to summon out Kentucky here, or Kentra, whatever her name is, Kentragina. Kentragina then, he's going to use the trap card. Basically, the whole point of Deinomorphia is you're trying to get your life points as low as humanly possible. This monster originally has 4k attack, but it loses attack points equal to your life points. So you're trying to get real low. Again, they're just playing the game. They're just activating cards, just monkey flipping. He just wanted to get the Lord of Heavenly Prisons out so that he could set Magic Cylinders to his field, which is a really weird set because it gets banished at the end of the following turn. He can't use it this turn, and he's hardly going to use it during his own turn. That doesn't make any sense. So this could have been anything else, and it would have been infinitely more useful. I don't know why he chose Magic Cylinders. Again, he's just resolving his card, summoning from the graveyard, spamming out, preparing his fusion monster. We're just sort of hoping that we can at some point break this. Now he's going in the Raider's Knight. We're going to wait for the ideal opportunity here to basically knock him out. We go Solemn Judgment to try and get the summon of the Raider's Knight. We don't want to be dealing with that, but he's got his own counter trap, which pops one of his monsters to negate and pop us. Now we're going to use Rivalry to force him to choose an attribute, but instead he's just going to use Kentucky here to pop herself and our Rivalry. So that also doesn't work. Now our opponent only has 250 life points, so we don't need to get much across the line. Kentragina, whenever it's destroyed, will summon a level 4 or lower Deinomorphia from the graveyard. Luckily for us, our opponent only has the 1, so we can use Aquero to banish it from the graveyard before it's summoned. The Lord of Heavenly Prisons gets negated by the Gravedigger's Trap Hole. There's an extra 2k damage to the face, which is unfortunate. They're going to flip up their other domain, pay half of their life points, which is 125 at this point. Another Kentragina. Raider's Knight then will detach 1 to summon out the Arc Rebellion Exceed Dragon, and we all know where that goes. It's going to boost itself up to 2 million attack points, and such is life. 11,000 damage to the face. What are you going to do about it? How many floodgates are you going to play? How many trap cards are you going to play to stop that thing from beating you over the back of the head with 11,000 attack points or 14,000 attack points? I don't know what to tell you. Eldlich, okay, so doesn't work against heavy back row removal, instantly beats it. Massive heavy OTKs, also beats it. Alright, well, in the game number 3. Alright, so we're going second this time, which usually isn't a good look for the deck. We actually do misplay in this particular game quite heavily. You're gonna see it right away. So he's gonna basically, we're playing against standard Sword Souls here. He's gonna go into Grandmaster. Moyi's gonna draw 1, chain blocking. Moyi draw 1, Grandmaster search 1. So he draws and then he searches for the strategist. So he's gonna discard 1 to summon the strategist, discard the Ashuna, summon the strategist and a token. Synchro summon now into Baron de Fleur. Pretty standard stuff here. We take 1200 damage to the face, set 1 pass, and it is now our turn. Draw 1, and there's the misplay. Did not activate Extravagance. Sometimes you just forget. Don't know what to tell you. I was playing Eldlich. I was already hating life. This was the final game I played with the deck, by the way. At this point, I was already sick of playing it. So I was like, listen, this is it. We go to use our Curse Eldland. It gets negated by Ash, which is delightful. We just really wanted to beat this Baron. We just wanted it to use its effect. And then whenever we finally go for our Lord of Heavenly Prisons, that's when he decides is the appropriate time to disappoint his parents. So he destroys our Lord of Heavenly Prison, and we just set to him, pass it back to him. There's not very much else we can do. Baron de Fleur is going to try and pop our Golden Lord, so we're going to use Haquero while we still can for some sort of effect to special summon it to banish the Ashuna from the graveyard, so that's one less card he can take advantage of. He summons the Taya banish the strategist to summon a Sword Soul token, and he will synchro summon into Adamancipator Ryzen Dragite. Dragite's going to reveal the top 5 cards of the deck and bounce a card for every rock he reveals. So we're 3, 4, and 5. He struck out no rock monsters, but not that it matters. He's got 6k attack on field, we've got 6k life points, and that is game. Well, heavy back row, big OTKs, going second, just in general. We're not looking too hot. I'm gonna be real. I think the rogue decks that we play also lose to all of these. I don't know what. Maybe I'm just bad. I don't know what to tell you, but it does. Like monkey flipping a trap card isn't that difficult. Maybe I'm active. I don't know what to tell you. In the game number 4. Into our 4th and final game here. Main phase 1, we're going first. We've got the hand. Lord of Heavenly Prisons protecting us. Set 3, pass. Our opponent summons Orochi at the end of our turn, so that's not a good sign. Our opponent's probably playing some sort of blind second deck. He's going to go for Extravagance here, banishing 6 to draw 2. He draws into this Sage de Fleur. He's going to pop our Scarlet Sanguine and his Orochi. We're not going to allow that to happen. Well, I mean, it will happen, but we're going to resolve our Sanguine first, summoning out the Golden Lord from the deck. At least we're getting something out of that trade. He's going to swing in. He's just going to try and take us out. We're going to summon the Guardian, reduce him to 0, and then it's going to come back to us. So we survived the turn. Great. This is an improvement. It's going to use, there can only be 1. We're going to send the Guardian to the graveyard. It's served its purpose. We don't need it anymore. We're going to summon out Lord of the Heavenly Prisons now at this stage in reaction to his back row. We're going to activate the Curse Eldland, pay 800 to search for Haquero. We're going to use the Golden Lord, discard 2 to get rid of that back row. It was a Crackdown, which is a really cool card. I love this card. We're going to add Eldlich then back to the hand. Banish the spell and the trap from the graveyard, the Eldlixirs from the graveyard, set Conquistador, set Golden Land forever. We're gonna get swinging here. He's gonna resummon his Orochi, but we don't really care. We're still gonna take out the Sage here just to get as much damage across the line as humanly possible, because Lord knows this is going to be a slow grind. As long as the Curse Eldland is face up, we can only attack with zombies, and we're only allowed to control 1 zombie thanks to, you guessed it, there can only be 1. So right now this guy's just a hunk of 3k attack points that's just kinda sorta sitting there. He's gonna try send 3 to destroy our Golden Lord, and we all know how well that goes. We're gonna flip up the trap card. We're gonna summon another Golden Lord here from the deck. So that lasted long. Very well done there. He's gonna use Desire's Banish 10 to draw 2, and he scoops it up. He realizes he's running direly low on resources. He has no way of getting past our monsters in any reasonable capacity. and he scoops. So look, we finally beat a deck that summoned Sage the Fleur and Orochi. And that's it. Eldlich is good, right? Okay, we're gonna get into the deck profile. I'm gonna break the deck down a little bit. It's very basic, and we're gonna talk about pros and cons, right? Because I'm not saying Eldlich is bad. I'm saying it's not as good as people think it is. So, into the deck profile. Alright, so looking at the deck. So this is somewhat sort of standard Eldlich. Of course, they do have sort of differentiations in terms of what specific sort of like traps and stuff they use, but generally speaking, this is the formula. The Golden Lord himself is, of course, the central card of the deck. You can play him at 2 or 3. A lot of people play him at 2. I prefer 3 because there's 2 copies of Call by the Grave legal in the format, and if you Call by the Grave both of the Golden Lords, you just sort of lose, so I would rather have a third. That's basically the only real plus to having a third. Past that, you can just have 2, but I just don't like to get hit with 2 Call by the Graves. Now, the Golden Lord can send itself and a spell or trap card from the hand to the graveyard to target a card in the field, send it to the grave. That's effect number 1. Effect number 2, it sends a spell or trap on your field to the graveyard to revive itself, well, to add itself to its hand, and then you get the option to special summon a zombie from your hand, and it gains 1000 attack and defense. It cannot be destroyed by card effects until the end of the following turn. So it usually just summons itself as a 3500 beat stick that can't be destroyed. Pretty neat. And then that becomes even better through the forced creation of a simplified game state, using a bunch of powerful trap cards, using your Lava Golem. For example, Lava Golem tribute 2 of your opponent's monsters to summon it to their field. They burn for 1000 damage every standby phase they have it face up. So it's an effective way of getting rid of boss monsters. It does come up. Lord of the Heavenly Prisons protects your back row. You activate it in your hand during your main phase. As long as it is revealed in your hand, your opponent cannot destroy back row cards. Well, no, back row cards in general cannot be destroyed, not just yours, but also your opponent's. So back row cards are protected, and if a face down card is flipped face up, if a spell or trap is activated, a set one, then he can be summoned from your hand, and if it happens during your opponent's turn, you basically set a spell or trap from your deck. Very, very powerful card, a big boon to Eldlich. It was a lot of protection that it needed. Now, in that same sort of patch and release, it also had a few hits, so, you know, take it or leave it. But Lord of the Heavenly Prisons is great. Extravagance, fantastic draw power. You don't use the extra deck in any real significant capacity, so part of Extravagance is great draw power. Elixir, summon Golden Lord from the deck. And now these guys and the Golden Land cards all have a common effect that I'm going to cover in a moment. So Elixir summons from deck and defense. Scarlet Sanguine summons from deck or graveyard, so it's better, but it is a trap card. The Elixir of Black Awakening has the advantage of being usable on your turn. White Destiny can summon from your hand or graveyard. This is great to activate in response to things like Call by the Grave, where you can quickly save your Golden Lord before it gets banished, and in general is just a nice additional card to have. And in terms of your Golden Land cards, then you've got 4, sorry. Your main 3 though, Guardian of the Golden Land, Haquero and Conquistador. They all have effects that activate when they're summoned to the field while you control Eldlich the Golden Lord. Guardian will reduce one of their monsters to 0, Haquero will banish a card in their graveyard, and Conquistador will destroy a face-up card. And lastly, you have Golden Land Forever. If you control an Eldlich monster, tribute a zombie, negate a card, it's a counter trap. It's pretty neat. Now, all of these cards, the Eldlixir cards and the Golden Land cards, have an effect where basically you can banish them from the graveyard to search for one of the others. So if you banish an Eldlixir, you search for a Golden Land. If you banish a Golden Land, you search for an Eldlixir. Pretty straightforward. Eldlixirs are all for summoning your Golden Lord. Your Golden Land cards are all for using the Golden Lord that you've summoned for your advantage. So it's sort of cyclical in its nature. You've Cursed Eldland, which will search your deck, and while face up, pay 800 life, search for Eldlich or a Golden Land spell or trap. If it's sent to the graveyard, you can send Eldlich or a Golden Land card from your deck to the graveyard to again banish or resummon from the grave. Very, very powerful card. And pretty much the rest of the deck is just generic trap cards. You've got Infinite Impermanence. I'm going to take them out as I'm talking about them so that you know how many slots you have to play with. You can play whatever you want in these slots at all. Infinite Impermanence. I was playing Ice Dragon Prison, Solemn Judgment, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Rivalry of Warlords, Double Skill Drain, Goes In Match, and those are all the non-essential ones. So that's 16 slots. That can be whatever you want. It doesn't even have to be trap cards. It's just better if it is. Solemn Judgment in particular is very powerful. Solemn Strike is another really good one if you've got it. I just don't have it. Floodgates are of course really strong if you want to include Floodgates. Imperm's very strong. Dimensional Prison's a good option. Ice Dragon's Prison's a good option. There's so many you can choose from. The last slot, you just build it however you want, and it will generally work for you. I can't even remember what way I had it, but it's not really relevant at this point. If you want to get the list again on your screen, just go back in the video, it's fine. Now, the actual discussion we wanted to have is Eldlich as good as people think it is? No, people treat this deck like it's some omnipotent force. They're just like, well, at least it's not Eldlich, but it's not that good. Don't get me wrong, it's very strong. Again, it is a tier deck and it does see regular competitive success, but it's not overbearing. It's not even overly tedious to fight against. You just need to know what to hit, know where to hit it, and then generally the strategy falls apart. Any competent player can get past it. Sometimes you have a bad hand, but like that's gonna happen against no matter what. I would rather face Eldlich and one face-up Floodgate card rather than get negated 7 times by some Dragon Link deck. So pick your poison. What do you really want to happen? But that's my take on it. Again, I'm not, before someone friggin' attacks me over this, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's not as bad as people think it is. You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts on the topic. That's my thoughts on the deck. Take with that as you will. This is probably not even an optimal Eldlich list. I don't care enough about the deck to build an optimal list. This is more just of a spotlight type video. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. Signing off, and I'll see you all in the next one.